Hey, this is Coach Marty,
And this is Lori.
and it's time for That Sports Couple.
What?
Brought to you by
Diamond Distributing.
Colonial Exterminating Company,
Edward Jones, C. Robert Email.
Wendy Benedetto, Ladder and Blue,
Sports Pub, Destrehan.
Adam Roussel, Riverbend, Carroll Creek, River Parishes Trophies,
The Seafood Pod. Welcome to episode 4 of That Sports Couple. I'm Lori Lyons, the sports writer. He's Marty Luquette, the coach. And together we are That Sports Couple. Tell us what is on tap for today, Coach.
Well, we're going to, you can see by my Destrehan gear tonight.
He changes colors every week.
We're going to get a chance to sit down and talk with head coach Marcus Scott at Destrehan and talk about what's been going on with their season and as they get ready for the district play. And the best opening game of the week will be East St. John and Destrehan. So at Destrehan. So it'll be a great contest. Both of them coming off of losses. So, but anytime they get together, it's going to be a great contest. And then we're going to go over this week's contest and who's playing who. And we're going to go over last week and look at some scores and talk about some people that stood out. So we're looking forward to this week and hope you'll be able to stay and join us.
Have some fun with us. East St. John Destrehan. I've covered many of them, many memorable ones. I told Coach Scott about the 5 overtime game that he didn't even remember. I do. I think we blew deadline. I don't think that one made the paper. They just kept playing. 5 overtimes, 57-50. Who won it? I don't remember. Destrehan won it, 57-50. And there were more that were 1 point, 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, crazy games that just came down to the wire. And it's one of those River Parishes rivalry games that everybody wants to go to because records go out the window and you just never know what's going to happen.
Well, you don't have to go too far back to find some great contests. Destrehan winning the state championship in 2022, where the first time they played, they blew out East St. John, came back and met them in the third round of the playoffs, and came down to a 1 score.
Yeah,
where East St. John was leading for most of the game, and probably played better and probably should have won the game. Did not. Destrehan went on and win the state championship. So
one of those games where there's more speed on the field than any person should be allowed to watch. It's like NASCAR. Zoom, zoom, track meet. Zoom, zoom. All right, cool. That's a fun game.
It's a fun game. We also, everybody else is playing outside the area, I believe, and we do have some contests that are going to be fun to watch. Hahnville is going to start district this week, as well as they'll go take on Terrebonne, who's 3-0.
Terrebonne's 3-0, y'all. For the longest time, I could not root for the Terrebonne Tigers because my stepson Daniel was the coach at Hahnville, and I would just send him a little message that said, "Go Tigers! May the best Tiger win." So now I can root for Terrebonne again.
And of course, Terrebonne coming off is now 3-0. After beating Riverside in week 1, 48-42 in a shootout, picking up a forfeit from Ellender in week 2. And then this week, winning a tight 24-21 game with St. James that came down to the wire.
That's another one I followed on Twitter. My friend Chris Singleton was there, and he would tweet out scores. And the last second, St. James scored, and I thought, well, there it is. It's over. But there was a flag on the play, and then there was an untimed down, and Terrebonne ended up winning. That was a wild one.
It was wild, and of course Terrebonne moved to 3-0, and St. James fell to 1-1, having not played week 2 because of the storm, and beating East St. John 20-0 in week 1. So that's going to be a great contest. Hahnville coming off a tough 21-18 loss at Edie White. Hahnville played well, had their
Edie
chances.
White's the real deal here.
Had their chances. Edie White knocked them off, moving to 2-1. Edie White having beat Holy Cross and losing a close one to Jesuit in week 2. They pick up the win against Hahnville and go to 2-1. Hahnville falls to 1-1 after their first week win against Booker T, 48-6. So that's going to be a good contest, a district game. Obviously, Destrehan and East St. John are also in district games. And then we run into St. Charles plays their third really tough opponent this week.
Hey, we need to fire the
he
schedule, man.
He doesn't skip anybody. He's not afraid to play tough teams. And this week he picks up De La Salle. Both of them looking for their first win. De La Salle must have the same guy right in their schedule because they played Central, Baton Rouge, Holy Cross, and St. Paul's, and played them all within a score. And they're 0-3. St. Charles is 0-2. So something's got to give.
Everybody's limping into week 4 here. Huh?
Something's got to give. St. Charles played against Dunham, lost a real good game at 2015. I watched that one. Dunham brought in the top-ranked player in the country for 2027, a sophomore quarterback, 6'6", Elijah Haven. He's the number 1 recruit in the country, and I thought St. Charles handled him pretty well. They shut down his passing, but unfortunately, in crucial times, he was able to scramble and run and got them in for a late score and ended up winning the game. So St. Charles has got De La Salle this week, another tough contest. So St. Charles is certainly not running from anyone.
I think that one is out at Zephyr. I believe it's at Zephyr Field. I have that in my notes. It might be because it's at De La Salle, but in Metairie, I believe it might be at Zephyr. Don't go to the bank with that, but
check the paper.
Check the paper.
Also, we have St. James who's going to be playing Ponchatoula. Ponchatoula comes into the game 0-3. They have played Livingston Parish as they lost 43-14 to Walker, 31-13 to Dutchtown, and 32-7 to Live Oak. So they pretty much touched the rest of that district. And they're 0-3. St. James brings in a 1-1 record. We also have Riverside Academy playing St. Thomas Aquinas and homecoming.
Yep, homecoming
this week.
Toilet paper wars all over the River Parishes this week as the seniors and juniors pranked each other for homecoming.
Yes.
Fun times.
St. Thomas Aquinas comes in at 0-3, having lost 47-0 to Pine, 56-7 to Oranger, and Ascension Catholic beat them 56-12. So they come in 0-3. Riverside comes in at 1-1. Had that tough close loss to Terrebonne in week 1.
And then they smashed.
And then this week they beat Prairieville 56-13. You want to talk about that?
Well, as y'all know, I have retired, but that means that I have more time to work for other people now. I did a story on Dedrick Lasty, the little running back at Riverside Academy for Go Preps. It should be up on your internets as we speak. And I interviewed him, and there was one outlet that said he had 6 touchdowns. He only had 5, but it's easy to lose track, right? And
he only scored 42 last year.
42 touchdowns last year, and he scored 5 in one night. The highest he had scored before in one game was 4. I did talk to him for my story, and he said no, he didn't even realize it. But against Terrebonne, Coach Roussel said that a couple of times they got into short yardage situations and they took Dedrick out because Dedrick is the same height as me and kind of a little guy. And they figured in short yardage they needed to put in a bigger guy, so they put in Martrell Henry. But Coach Roussel said this week they wanted to give Dedrick a chance to try and push through, and he did. A couple of them were open fields, but he did score one from the 6. And we could probably see him score a bunch more this week. He's fast. He's elusive. He can explode off the line. And look, and let's talk about the line. This is almost an entirely new offensive line that he's running behind. And Dedrick said, they're working hard, and I trust them. So,
good.
Yeah.
And Martrell Henry is he got hurt last year. in about week 4, sat out the rest of the year, didn't get a chance to play in the Dome. Martrell is a very good defensive end. It's about 6'3", maybe 270 pounds, and they use him as a running back as well and a short yardage. So he did score a couple touchdowns against Terrebonne, but he did fumble once into the end zone.
And Dedrick had an 83-yard kickoff return against Terrebonne to start the second half, which kind of spurred them to a comeback that fell just short. And turnovers hurt them. They made some mistakes in that game. Coach Roussel talked about that. So that was, anything we could count. Somebody keep count this time how many touchdowns Dedrick scores this week.
And then we have West St. John, who picked up their first win of the season on a late score against Donaldsonville. They're winning 34-32. That's a huge win for them. Yeah,
it is. They needed that one, and that's another one of those rivalry games because they're both on the same side of the river, and that's one of those family reunion games, and that was a big one for them. They needed that one.
And of course, this week they're going to play at
Homa Christian
against Homa Christian, who is 2-0 right now, having knocked off Highland Baptist 33-14 and picking up a forfeit win against Ellender.
Did you talk about Lutcher? I didn't hear you.
No, I have not yet.
Oh, God. I'm backseat driving. Sorry.
Yes, she is. And then our last game of the week is Lutcher, who is now 2-0 with their win over Liberty that they won 28-6. And they followed that with they had beat Slidell week 1 and 28-12, and they play Assumption, who comes into the game 1-2. Assumption with a win over Donaldsonville and then losses to Thibodaux and HL Bourgeois. So Lutcher looks to go 3-0, and Lutcher looks really good.
Don't they always?
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope to have Coach Dwayne on next week, and we've talked to him about what's going on over there and what kind of adjustments they're making. So,
and what it's like to coach your kid.
That would be nice to hear.
Yeah.
To see if they're enjoying themselves.
Yeah. So we, the sports couple, our idea was to try and get other sports couples on, and it turns out that that's not as easy as it sounds. As if you watched last week, you saw we could not get Coach Joe Sherman and his wife together for 30 minutes for an interview. And this week, we talked to Coach Marcus Scott at Destrehan, and we talked about his wife, but she wasn't there. So, it's kind of hard to get sports couples together, as we know.
And he said his wife's first name was?
I don't remember.
Oh, you're killing me.
I don't remember.
Because she's actually a doctor at St. James Hospital.
Dr. Scott.
Good comeback.
You'll hear it in the interview.
Yeah. So, that is a recap of the games, and we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll meet with Coach Mark Scott.
Brought to you by Diamond Distributing. They're the guys who deliver the Hubig's pies.
Lemon!
No apple. If you don't see your favorite pie and freeze-dried goodies at your store, have them call Diamond Distributing.
Brought to you by Colonial Exterminating Company, a local family-owned company that will help you get rid of your termites, pests, and rodents. They're a Christ-based company looking forward to serving you.
Brought to you by Robert Hemel at Edward Jones Investing on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. Trust Robert with all your investment needs.
Brought to you by Wendy Benedetto at Ladder and Bloom. If you are buying or selling your home, call the best in the business. Let Wendy Benedetto get you home. Welcome back to That Sports Couple. We had an opportunity to talk with Destrehan head coach Marcus Scott about his season and his career and kind of just a little bit of everything. We try not to be the hardcore football. We
don't talk X's and O's.
X's and O's. So we did talk a little bit about what was going on. But here's our interview with Coach Scott.
Welcome back to That Sports Couple. Today we have a special guest, Destrehan High School football coach Marcus Scott. Welcome to That Sports Couple and into our little home.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. We haven't been canceled yet, so, you know.
Well, Marcus, tell us a little bit about Marcus Scott and where you've been and what you rode. You've done a lot of things. You've been a college coach. Your route to Destrehan was very similar to mine in that regards. But tell us where you've been and your background.
Where you from at?
So, so I'm originally from. I grew up in Algiers, and I went to high school in Mid City at Jesuit, and then from Jesuit to McNeese State, where I was able to play football there, and for 4 years, and redshirted in 1995, and then played the next 4 seasons there. From there, right out of college, I started coaching at J.S. Clark High School with a friend of mine, Spencer Ross. And so I was there for one season, and then I went to Jesuit for 3 under Coach Vic Dumont. And I've learned a lot from all the coaches that I've been able to study under. And so from Jesuit, moved to Texas for 3 years, and the coach that I worked for there was he was a very accomplished coach. He won the Tom Landry Award, 1 year. So I from there, I was able to go and work. We moved back home, and I was able to work under Coach Hank Tierney for 1 season, and then after that 1 season, he retired, and then I was named the head coach. That was in 2008, and so 6 years there, and then from there we moved to. No, I'm sorry. I get mixed up sometimes. So
I can see why. You need a list.
Yeah. So from West Jefferson, we moved to a little town called Oakdale, Louisiana, and that was where my wife had this opportunity to have a practice there. In small town, rural areas, they offer a lot of different incentives for physicians to move to these communities. And so I actually set out that fall and didn't coach. I was actually in school working on my PhD, and I get a phone call from Tim Rebo and to offer me the defensive back job at Nichols. So I went there about a year and a half, and then with the kids being so little, my mother-in-law at the time moved in with us, and she was sickly, and so it was tough at the house. So it was better for me to get back to high school. And when Coach Robichaux called for me to have an opportunity to be the defensive coordinator here at Destrehan, that was that was the best move at that time for the family. And so here for 2 years under Coach Robichaux, and then left to be the head coach at John Ehret for 2 years. And when he retired, I was able to come back and be the head coach here. So it's been quite the journey, but it's all been necessary.
We need a Marcus Scott tracking map. I mean,
yeah.
So wait, I have a question. Are you Dr. Scott? Did you get your PhD?
I did not, and because I started coaching, I went to Nichols to coach, and of course, being a college coach and being in school does not work. So
No.
I had to choose one, and sometimes I regret it. But then if I would not have taken the Nichols job, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So everything happens for a reason, I guess.
Yes.
And Marcus, this is your 5th year at Destrehan?
Yes, this is number 5.
Number 5, and you've done some great things.
Yes, indeed.
Obviously, the state championship a couple of years ago, but just the way you run the program so so everyone is so classy, and just the things you've been doing. It's been a great tribute. I put my Destrehan stuff on. Proud of what you all are doing over there.
Things cannot be accomplished without the help of so many people contributing. Whether it be the staff, administration, the teachers, staff, faculty members. So everyone pulls together in the same direction, and it works. And we all do it for the betterment of children. And so once we can make sure that we put the main focus on why we all in this business to begin with, then things usually work out.
Well, we're not Destrehan grads, but we're kind of Destrehan by proxy because all three of his kids graduated from Destrehan,
That's
and
right.
then he coached there for 15 years. So, Destrehan's kind of like our alumni B school.
Right. Right.
We won't tell you what her real school is.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming up on your schedule in
Coming
a couple
up.
of weeks.
Oh,
I'm a Terrebonne grad.
all the Tigers.
Yes. Yeah. And I haven't
Yeah.
been able to cheer for him for a little while,
Well,
but
I'll tell you what, they have a really good team this year. And they were good last year. They got a lot of those kids back, so they'll be very, very competitive in Class 5A.
Well, this week you have the big game, Destrehan and East St. John. I've covered many of them. I covered the 5 overtime game, 57-50, which was back in my younger days. Yeah. Did you ever hear about that one? It was a crazy one. We
No,
blew deadline on that one.
no.
And it's one of those games where you could throw the records out, that anything can happen and somebody's going to step up. Talk about that this week. What are you anticipating?
Yeah, we anticipating another tight ball game. I mean, whenever you start district play, we call that the second season, and so everyone will certainly be putting their best foot forward, as we enter this district race.
You were able to sneak in that third game that everybody else lost in the river.
Yeah.
Of the 8 schools, you were the only one that got a chance to play, and you played on that Sunday. How did that come about?
Well, the new coach at Bonneville is Coach Dwayne Thomas, is doing an outstanding job, by the way. He really wanted to get the game because it was a situation where he thought that it was going to make his program better, and we thought that the same for us because we really needed to. We ended up starting a freshman quarterback against Bonneville, and turns out that we have to go with the freshman, for the, we Jackson is week to week. So as long as he's out, we have a freshman quarterback and our 2 tailbacks are sophomores. So we are very young, but I think it's a good thing that they get those experiences. We have our 2 safeties are sophomores. We all over the field with young guys. We think it's great experience for them.
We watched. My plan was to come over and sit with Ulysses and Chuck, over by the field house,
Right.
for the Catholic game. But when the weather went south, I ended up watching it on TV. But I thought y'all outplayed them. I know the weather conditions were just so bad, that it limited what you all could do. Plus, Jackson you could see, was hurting, trying to run a little bit. But just go over that game because let's be honest, that was on a dry field with everybody good. That would have been fun to watch, But it was a good game.
So with this cycle with the schedule, really wanted to challenge ourselves and try to step up the competition, in pre-district. And so win or lose, I felt like we were going to become better by playing Catholic and by playing Alexandria. And those are, of course, Catholic is probably the premier program in the state, along with, Carr and Curtis and
Destrehan.
Those teams. And so I think that playing them really helped us because, as coaches, we have to prepare. I mean, you have to pay attention to detail. The kids have to be focused. So everybody has to step up in games like that. The same thing with Alexandria, being on the road. I mean, they are third round playoff team in a select division from last season. And so we really knew we were going to have our hands full. But going back to the Catholic game, I thought it was a great high school football game, number one. And, at the end, there was a little controversy, but, that such is life. Sometimes that happens. And you have to focus on the positives as much as possible and trying to figure out a way to bounce back from that adversity because there's certainly a lot of disappointment after that. That was the seniors' first regular season loss. And so
we're going to talk about that.
And so it was it was a tough night, but we learned from it.
That's I want to ask you. I mean, what was it like after that game It was still close, and one play away maybe, and for the seniors that was their first loss. How did you have to pick them up? Were they really devastated, or?
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad in the locker room. I mean, the kids were very upset, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves. Yeah, the the fourth down call was certainly a factor. They had one timeout, so we get the ball, we run a play, we nail it, game is over. But um, we have to look back at the whole game and think about the plays that we didn't make leading up to that 1 inch. Sometimes you have to. It's never one play. It's all the other plays that happens before that one play. And maybe if we would have been a little bit more dialed in earlier in the ball game, maybe it wouldn't have came down to 1 inch. So sometimes you gotta look in the mirror and face the truth. And sometimes that can be tough, especially when you try to explain that to a group of kids who really played their heart out. Sure. and gave it everything they had and thought that they had the game won. And but that's a difficult conversation. But when it comes back to what could we have done better or differently so we could ensure the outcome as opposed to leaving it in the hands of the officials.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, that's I had the opportunity to talk to Jason Marty, your principal, right after that game, and he said pretty much the same things, But then again, him as a coach, you were with him at one time coaching. Am I correct?
No, we never worked together.
Oh, he was never on that staff, huh? Okay.
No, he had already moved to administration at that time.
Yeah, but he's very knowledgeable and would be a great principal to be the coach under. I had Weber. You got to get it. Well, Marcus, we tease all the time. We say that this is we're the light sports podcast. We'll let Ulysses and them be the heavy football guys, but we talked to you about your wife coming on with us too.
Yeah, tell me about your wife. What kind of doctor is your wife?
Oh, so family practice, and she works in St. James, for St. James Hospital at the clinic on LA 20. So, she likes small town medicine a lot better than being at the bigger places.
What's her name?
Jarrell Scott.
Jarrell Scott. Okay. So, we're that sports couple. And last week we tried to get Joe Sherman and his wife on, and it was impossible to get the two of them together. What is it like? You have small children. What is it like, Coach's wife, small kids? We've done it. We've been there. We're empty nesters now. It does get better. What is it like, just your crazy life?
Well, we have 3 kids. We have a senior in high school. We have a 8th grader and a 6th grader. Oh, and wow. So 2 boys are the oldest 2, and the little girls is a 6th grade, and they all have activities. My oldest son is an actor. He's at NOCA for musical theater, and so he actually is in a show this weekend, and so he's constantly busy with that. And my middle son is he plays football and track and basketball at Cammon. And so he has a game tonight, and then my little girl is softball and volleyball. So, the tournaments on the weekends and all that stuff. I'm sure y'all know about all that. So, we always in different directions.
Yes.
To split up most of the time to make sure we cover everything.
Exactly.
Well, I saw your daughter this summer a little bit in one of the tournaments that Daniel's little girl was playing in, and she's pretty good.
Yeah, she has a chance. I really wanted to I wanted to get better, but I also wanted to just have fun and not make it so serious. And so I want to remember it's a game. But really, all of them. You just remember this, have fun, and learn the life lessons from the game. But just when it becomes a job, then that's when the trouble starts.
Absolutely.
Who you mentioned a couple places you've been, but who was the biggest influence in your life?
But probably my dad by far, and that was my dad was my first coach in Little League football. So, he certainly has been the most impactful. And I've had a lot of people in terms of coaches. I've worked for some really good coaches. I mean, I have, like I said, the Coach Ross, who's still he's in the city, still coaching at Booker T. Washington right now as an assistant, and has a great heart for kids. I've learned from him how to make things happen. When you don't have many resources, you don't have a lot of money to be resourceful, to be creative. And I learned that from him. And then when I left him, I went to Vic Umine, who I really learned the meat and potatoes of coaching football. The knowledge of the game and how to prepare and how to do stuff. And then after that, I was able to work for Coach Tierney, who, I mean, his work ethic is second to none. I mean, I don't know how he's still doing it to this day.
I know.
And that's like a favorite coach, man. He does. He is constantly going. And one thing about Coach Hank, he really had a heart for the kids, and he and also his coaches. I mean, people still look at him as a father figure for a lot of his assistant coaches, and we actually talk at least once a week just to bounce stuff off each other with different situations. And after Coach Tierney in Texas, the coach's name was Tim Taco. As I said, he's a former college coach, and he was the most organized of the coaches that I've been under. And I mean, just nothing, no stone was left unturned. I mean, he was that detailed, and
Really?
yeah, he was really detailed. And so I picked that up from him. And then obviously Coach Rebo. I mean, the way Coach Rebo can relate to people, in the way that he knows how each kid functions and what gets them going and what motivates them, and all these different things. And of course, I've been on the road recruiting with the man. He knows everybody.
Yes.
He knows everybody. And everybody knows him. And so you learn that from him. And then Coach Robichaux, how to handle situations with grace, how to have class, even when things, you have the right to be upset about some stuff. I thought Coach Robichaux always handled things with class, as related to parents, as related to communicating with the public and with the media. So I've been fortunate to take something from each one of them.
Yeah, he was always very kind to me and always returned my calls. Might have taken him a while, but he returned my calls. I know you had some health issues last year. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So, kidney transplant in November 17th, and it's been a heck of a road, leading up to that point. And so, a lot of people have helped and contributed to my recovery. And so, I take my medicine every day. I try to exercise and watch what I eat, and it's been God is good, and it's been a really challenging time. It hadn't even been a full year yet, but I attribute that to my family, really helping me get through the situation.
We're glad to see that you're doing well. To come in the middle of the season too, that had to be even more stressful for you.
Yeah, like right before the playoff game, so it was.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. But it gave Coach Boyne an opportunity to get some on the field action before he moved over to Hahnville, huh?
Yeah, well, Coach Boyne and I have been together for a while. We when I was a first-year head coach at West Jefferson, he was a first-year offensive coordinator, and then Coach Miller, who's an assistant under Coach Tierney at Shaw right now, he was the first-year defensive coordinator. So we all came up together, and we made some mistakes, but we learned along the way. And we've all been fortunate to play for and coach under really strong head coaches. So we all kind of learned from those guys.
Excellent. All right, well, you feeling good about this week's game?
Well, I never feel. I always feel the same. Nervous. I don't eat. So it doesn't matter who we playing. I'm always the same way. So, you say John is quite the challenge. So we have to be ready.
Well, they look at and it's their Hahnville Destrehan game. They look
Yeah.
at it as the big game.
It became a big, everybody used to Hahnville, Destrehan, and then Destrehan, East St. John became just as big, and it's a wild one. And anything can happen. 5 overtimes. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it don't get happen.
I got one question for you though. How did an Algiers kid end up down on Bank Street?
Yeah, so my dad had a relationship with Danny Abramowitz many years ago, and he always wanted me to go to Jesuit so I could play under Coach Abramowitz. But Coach Abramowitz left and went. I think he went to the NFL or something.
He did.
And then Mark Sonji was a 28-year-old head coach, and he introduced himself to my dad, and they developed a relationship. And then, but that was a tough transition because I was at Carr Junior High School when it was just a high school, just a middle school. And, all my friends and I'm still, it's like family. And so it was very hard to leave that environment and go to the environment on Carrollton and Banks, which was totally different. And so,
I had spent 10 years at Walker, so I'm very aware of Algiers. Carr was our feeder at the time.
That's right. Coach Jones, huh?
Pardon me?
Did you work for Coach Jones?
I did.
Or was that Coach Favre?
I did. Favre was our young coach.
Okay.
I was with Byron. I was where when LJ Gambaluka started.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Rod Baker was next. Then Byron came back,
Wow.
But Byron's my guy.
Yeah.
We're still tight. The Reverend,
Yeah. So I was another person. I mean that really influenced me was not only my assistant coaches that I had at middle school, but I played for Al Ott. And you know what type of man and type of impact that he leaves on kids. And so a lot of the stuff that he talked about back in 1989 and 1990, I tell these kids to this day.
Yep.
That junior high staff over there of Coach Watney and Al Ott, and they were pretty good now.
Y'all just name dropping all over the place today.
That was staffs.
Yeah, we had my middle school team produced I believe it's like 17 college players off of one team. Yeah. And then about 3 of them played in the NFL. Pat Surtain, you had Del Lee, and then you had Robert Royal was coming up, but you had it was another we had a defensive end that's slipping my name, but my mind right now. But I mean, the teams were loaded. But we really had good players, but they stressed discipline and hard work and character and all that stuff. It wasn't just about being good players.
Right.
Excellent.
And you ended up at a Catholic school, and Hank still at Shaw back then?
He was. And, that was. I didn't want to leave, and my parents were torn because Carl was just they were adding a grade each year, so it was a little uncertainty about how, what was going to happen there as a high school, and but as you can see, I know Ron Guerin was one of the people who had the vision of what Carr is today, and he along with a lot of people really had the vision to make it a great place.
Yeah, I knew Ron well. Actually, their vision of Carr is why I ended up leaving. Because if you're at Old Perry Walker and Carr's your feeder and they start keeping all the kids,
yeah,
Walker was going to be no place to be soon. It wasn't going to take long.
Yeah, the thing about it was, it's been years where Carr, Walker, and Landry were all really good.
Yeah. Coach, I always tell people that until I got to the River, the West Bank of the West Bank period, when you go with Carr and Walker and Shaw and Errett and West Jeff, all the way to Hahnville.
Yeah.
That part of the New Orleans area was just loaded with football players.
Unbelievable.
and their parents were hardworking people who worked on the river or did, and it
Yeah,
just and it just worked out that way. We all
yeah,
had 20 players.
yeah. My dad worked at Union Carbide, which is now Dow, for 31 years. And my mom was a secretary. Well, my mom was secretary now, and she ended up transitioning to a job with the federal government, but she retired from it. So, they were a blue collar family. They worked hard, and to provide for me and my sister, but that's how all my friends were. I mean, all their parents really, they got up early, they came home dirty,
Hmm.
and they expected us to work hard.
The same. And when you take it and now you look at the River Parishes, it's the same thing. Going all the way out to Lutcher and all the hardworking people we see all the way up and down the river. It's just fabulous football where we are right now.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, you're right about that. It's not that big of an area.
no,
Right.
to have turned out the players that they
Yeah.
did. We went over a list of who's who of college and pro football last week,
Just in my era that I covered, and I forgot a bunch.
just from 91 on. It's quite a group, but
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you certainly have your share. You've got a couple guys playing right now. I know you got a couple at Tulane, or you had one at Tulane now that's starting in their backfield. With that tie-in with Courtney, we kind of we're becoming Tulane football fans.
yeah, oh, yeah, definitely. We actually have about maybe it's 5 or 6 of them at Tulane, because Patrick Jenkins, the nose guard, I was able to coach him at John Eric,
Okay.
and then
Invisible
of course
strings.
Macon Clark was I was able to coach him the first time I was here at Destrehan, and then Kevin, and then Jai Eugene and Landry Cannon, um, Kevin Adams, all those kids are there now. Jace Tom, I mean, I'm not Jace Thomas, Jace Mitchell. So that's about 5 or 6 guys,
Right.
over at Tulane right now. So we said that we love them to stay local, but we also have kids from all over the country playing.
Well, tell you how old I am. I covered Jai Eugene Sr.
There you go.
Well, Marcus, we appreciate you giving us some of your time. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, no, I didn't know if you guys knew that Jai got a kidney transplant
Yes.
probably a couple of weeks
Yes.
ago.
Yes,
So
we.
we're very happy for him, and
Yes.
it's been a struggle. We've been able to kind of help each other through it. It's been quite the journey.
A club you don't want to be in, but you're glad to have another member, I guess, huh?
Yeah, absolutely,
My
absolutely.
God. I'm glad he's doing well too. Yeah, we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Glad y'all are both doing well.
Well,
Yeah,
Coach,
doing well.
we appreciate you giving us some of your time. I know you're a busy man around school, and things are hopping at Destrehan, and wish you all the best of luck the rest of the year.
Well,
Hope you have a good game Friday.
thank you very much.
Not 5 overtimes.
No, no, I don't, we're gonna run out of players.
Marcus, we appreciate it. Thank you, babe.
All right, y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Brought to you by Riverbend Chiropractic. Come see Dr. Adam Roussel for pain relief. His decompression table will change your life. Call Riverbend Chiropractic in Destrehan.
Brought to you by the Sports Pub in Destrehan. For fabulous food and big screen TVs, come to the Sports Pub for all the action. It's a must after your big game. Brought to you by Tri-Parish Trophies in Reserve. When it's time to acknowledge someone's accomplishments, let Tri-Parish Trophies help. They're also your sign and printing professionals. Let them help you. They're a family-owned company. Brought to you by the Seafood Pot in New Sarpy, the best seafood in the River Parishes. Crabs, shrimp, seafood platters, po' boys, and those daiquiris. Doesn't get any better than the Seafood Pot. Well, that was our interview with Destrehan head football coach Marcus Scott. What a nice guy. I didn't get to cover him. He came after I was kind of out of sports writing and into teaching. But maybe I'll get to do a story on. I should have done a story after the streak ended, and we, as you saw, we talked about how it's difficult that is to deal with when, your first loss in 3 years, 4 years. That's tough to take.
Well, and we're so fortunate in the River Parishes to have such great gentlemen
Yes.
coaching our children, and being a part of this. And Marcus certainly is one of the great, really really nice people, and does a good job at Destrehan, and they're just going to keep being successful as long as he's there.
And I'm glad he's doing well. I asked him about the update on his health, and glad that he's doing really well. In the middle of football season, hey, by the way, here's a kidney. Go get a new kidney and miss the rest.
Well, actually, it happened in week 3 of the playoffs.
Yes.
He'd been sitting waiting for a kidney, and then it shows up. You don't get to pick when.
When the beeper goes off, I guess.
And they showed up, and he ended up getting his kidney and missing the playoffs. And they got upset at home against Zachary last year.
That's right.
They were defending state champs and lost it at home. And he was able to watch it on TV, but it's not the same.
Not the same.
It was probably a lot more stressful watching than it would have been coaching.
Yeah.
But one of great guys, and everyone who comes across him really likes him, and it's a good situation over at Destrehan right now.
All right. So that's episode 4. We haven't been canceled yet. That Sports Couple. We hope you're enjoying. Leave us some comments. Ask us some questions. Tell us how we're doing, please. And please go visit our sponsors. Seafood Pot asked me to mention that next month in October is their anniversary coming up. They're going to have some specials. And we're getting ready to go to Seafood Pot, man. I need some Cajun Girl needs her seafood fix,
Well, we love you. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
And we love each other. Hey, Marty, why did the vulture cross the road? The chicken didn't make it. Bye.